Dawson, of course, Dawson.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. It is me great pleasure to speak to the Appropriations Bill before you as a strong voice for North Queensland, a region that's strong, resilient, built by people that never give up, with grit and determination that will see it through tough economic times that it currently faces. And the former member, the member who spoke before me, used the words bold, strong and resolute were the determinations and the attitudes that got us through the GFC. And I've got to say, it wasn't from the Rudd or Gillard governments. It was from the hard-working men and women in my electorate and electorates like mine, doing mining, doing agricultural work, keeping the economy afloat. It certainly wasn't $900 cheques in the mail, overpriced school halls and pink bats that burnt roofs down, burnt houses down. And although the phrase has been attributed to JFK's father, Joseph Kennedy, it's probably better remembered and best sung by the great Billy Ocean in his 1985 hit, "When the going gets tough, the tough get a-going." And the going in North Queensland is tough indeed. The much publicised 237 job losses at the Yabulu nickel refinery came after a string of bad news over the past 2.5 years. Peabody mining cut 450 jobs in the Bowen Basin, Glencore Xstrata another 450 jobs, BMA 700 jobs cut in the Bowen Basin, 481 jobs lost at the Callide mine, 727 jobs lost at the Dawson mine. These are just a handful of announcements. In July last year, Anglo America announced thousands of jobs will be cut from its operations, including 4 mines serviced from Mackay. The regional town of Mackay is the epicentre of the resources downturn, where thousands of homes are for sale and the rental vacancy rate has gone from 0 to 10%. The pain's acutely felt in the small town of Bowen, where dozens of businesses have closed down. They've desperately hung on for as long as they could, for 3 years or more, waiting for the expansion of the nearby port at Abbott Point. But when the going gets tough, the tough get a-going. And the government, I'm going to say, is rolling out the largest infrastructure investment program in Australia's history, and the most important element for North Queensland is the $6.7 billion investment to fix the Bruce Highway. Major highway projects generate immediate jobs in construction and also result in future economic growth through increased efficiency and productivity. Construction projects under this government have included pavement widening, safety upgrades, overtaking lanes, such as those constructed at Coningsby near Mackay, the Burdekin Bridge upgrade, fixing black spots throughout a range of areas and new rest areas on the highway. Some of the big projects this government has already completed are the $137 million Van Tassel Street to Cluden duplication in Townsville, the $50 million upgrading of the highway from Sandy Corner to Collinson's Lagoon with the overpass they've got there just north of Brandon and the Burdekin, and a $13.8 million upgrade and extra lane at the pivotal Showgrounds intersection in Mackay. Other major works currently under construction or due to start any day include the $45 million floodproofing of the highway at Yellow Gin Creek in the Burdekin and the $57 million floodproofing at Sandy Gully near Bowen. Other investments in productivity and road network efficiency under this government include black spot funding, roads to recovery funding, the financial assistance grants program to local councils, all of which have delivered such projects as a major upgrade to Malcolmson Street at Mount Pleasant in Mackay, an upgrade to Milton Street in Mackay, the Melton Black intersection in Townsville, where Laverack Barracks is, the old Clare Road upgrade from Giddy Road near Ayr, and the construction of a new roundabout as you drive into the township of Bowen. Reliable road networks are essential for productivity in regional areas, but the government also believes in building community infrastructure, which creates immediate jobs once again and leaves the community with a lasting legacy. And we've delivered in Dawson on the $17 million public realm improvement in Mackay's city heart, the $17 million development of CQ University's engineering precinct, and also extra money that's gone into creating the new city campus of CQ University Mackay. The $750,000 construction of the Mackay Gymnastics extension to their new facility and the $2.3 million relocation of the Mackay Junior Soccer grounds. Since elected, the Liberal National Government has focused on growing existing industries and creating new ones. That's where major job benefits come from. And one of the most exciting success stories for the North is in the development of aquaculture. Pacific Reef Fisheries, which operates a prawn farm in Burdekin, has been trying to establish a new prawn farm at Guthalungra, north of Bowen. The process began, I'm sad to say, back in 2001, but I have worked very closely with the project proponents to get this farm up and running and through all of the bureaucratic nightmare in this term of government. The final approval, I'm happy to say, came from the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. It was issued late last year, and Pacific Reef Fisheries are soon to be employing more than 100 full-time staff for their operations and a further 70 to 100 workers during peak harvest times once that new farm is constructed. Now, the largest job creation project there could be in North and Central Queensland right now is the Carmichael Coal Project. It will create 10,000 jobs, direct and indirect, over the life of the entire mine, including in the construction not just of the mine but the railway line that leads to the port, where the port will be expanded as well at Abbott Point. All of that, direct and indirect, thousands of jobs. The figure that has been put out by Adani is 10,000 jobs, and while the Green Movement have tried to claim that it's not, it actually is. The figure that they're spouting about is for stage one of the mine only, not including railway line, port expansion or indirect jobs that flow on from it. The federal government has issued all the required approvals. I'm going to say it's now up to the state Labor government to stop sitting on its hands and issue the mining lease and the final approvals for the port expansion. And I believe there's 3 of them that are yet to be approved. It's disappointing to see the Labor Party refusing to back this project, and I understand even in the Senate just recently the Labor Party joined with the Greens to vote against a motion calling on the state government to get on with issuing the mining lease. It's also disappointing to see the state Labor government sitting on its hands with 2 of the largest Bruce Highway projects in my electorate, that being the Mackay Ring Road, valued at $540 million, and the Horton River Bridge replacement, which is also around $500 million. Now, the contract for planning and design of the Mackay Ring Road was awarded in March last year, almost a year ago, and yet we've got the state Labor government telling us that it won't get to construction for another year. Well, the federal government is stumping up 80% of the funding for this project. We have offered to get that money to the state government sooner rather than later, as soon as they can get to construction, but they're telling us they can't do it. They need to pull their finger out, Mr Deputy Speaker, and get going with this project. The reality is I've spoken to senior engineers in New South Wales Transport who tell me a project of this magnitude shouldn't take more than 9 months to be designed, but yet we're having to wait until next year through the dilly-dallying of Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk and her ragtag bunch in that minority government there to get going with this most important project that will create 600 jobs that are needed in our region right now. They demonstrate no sense of urgency with that project or the Horton River Bridge upgrade, which is also an important one for safety and also jobs in the northern part of my electorate. In fact, the only road project between Mackay and Townsville that Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk nominated as one that she would be willing to fast-track turned out to be one that was actually fully funded, 100% funded, by the federal government, and she said that she was going to fast-track it and bring it on for construction early this year, when in fact on November 11th last year I announced that the project was going to go ahead, that we were fast-tracking it by bringing the money forward, and it was going to go ahead in early 2016. So they didn't do anything there at all. Now, not surprisingly, a local company, Vassallo Constructions, has already started constructing those overtaking lanes at Tomsets Road near Bloomsbury, and that's a great outcome for local jobs, having a local tender out there doing the job and keeping infrastructure investment dollars in our region. Overtaking lanes are also under construction at Alligator Creek near Townsville, and there are some projects outside my electorate that have an impact on local jobs and productivity in my electorate, and I include in that the Hay Point turn-off intersection that's being upgraded and the Peak Downs Highway upgrades, which includes a new pathway through Eaton Range, the replacement of bridges under the Liberal National Government's Bridges Renewal Program on the Peak Downs Highway. Along with all that good work that's been done or is being done in infrastructure, we need to prepare for the jobs of tomorrow and get all that preparation work done. An alternate line in that Billy Ocean classic is that when the going gets tough, the tough get ready. And much has been said over the years about the potential of the North, but in this government's first budget, that we backed a commitment with money on the table to developing the North. It came in different packages and it came in the form of billions of dollars. $6.7 billion to fix the Bruce Highway to facilitate growth and prosperity and jobs, $5 billion for the Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility, or NAIF, to provide concessional loans for building the infrastructure needed to create jobs, new industry and a stronger economy throughout the North, and $500 million for the National Water Infrastructure Fund, with money specifically earmarked for dams in Northern Australia. Now, the concessional loans from NAIF will develop new ventures and industries. It'll overcome one of the major hurdles they have to getting ahead, and that is funding, finance and affordable finance. The NAIF scheme is an incentive for projects such as the proposed ethanol plant in the Burdekin, which will create a new avenue for income for many sugarcane farmers who are at the mercy of world sugar prices and foreign-owned mills which they have to sell to. The NAIF scheme is an incentive for a new bioenergy plant in Mackay, which will expand the region's productivity of energy from biofuels, which currently includes an ethanol plant in Serena and Racecourse Mills power generator. The NAIF scheme is an incentive for a new freight and logistics centre at the Mackay Airport, which will open up the door for greater exports, including agricultural produce sourced from the wider region and boosted by the government's commitment to water infrastructure. Now, last week I drove up to the Youngalla Range to the west of Mackay with a member for Capricornia and saw a local sawmill owner while we looked out over this massive water catchment that will become Urana Dam. That dam will be very deep with a small footprint, limiting losses to evaporation. It's high enough to enable gravity feed of water to dry agricultural land on the coast and also to inland areas, opening up massive new agricultural opportunities. For the sawmiller, there's an opportunity to mill the timber before it's cleared and burnt prior to flooding. That dam's been talked about for 40 years, but two new developments mean that talk is now very serious. First, there's private investors on board with the support of the local traditional owners, who are also the owners of the leasehold owners of the site. And secondly, this government, the federal government, has the will and determination to build new dams and money on the table to support it. Now, once Urana's underway, I'm going to be fighting for the Elliott Main Channel project to get resurrected. That channel linking the Burdekin River to good but dry agricultural land between Bowen and the Burdekin needs to go ahead. It was partly built many years ago, but with a real commitment to water infrastructure, the time's come to deliver on the Elliott Main Channel. There's also an opportunity to raise the Burdekin Falls Dam, which was a future expansion option included in the dam's original design. Now, Deputy Speaker, water is the key to agriculture, and investing in dams enables huge growth in agricultural production. But in just 2 years of government, we've secured free trade agreements with Korea, Japan, China and the TPP. All of those agreements open the doors to more agricultural exports. Some markets will require faster freight services, particularly for perishable products, and there's 2 airports in my electorate seeking to expand to accommodate international flights. That'll create more jobs, not just for exporting products, but also with the tourists it will bring in, particularly into Mackay and the Whitsundays. I've sought and received a commitment from the government to waive costs associated with Customs and Border Protection Services for an indefinite period should the airports at Mackay or Whitsunday secure an international carrier. I'm working on a brand new industry for the Whitsundays as well, where Reef Island and world-class Whitehaven Beach are major draw cards internationally. It's the perfect base for a super yacht industry. We're close to overcoming obstacles that are now there, but to overcome them to introduce this major creator of new jobs and a source of income for the local economy. A single super yacht reaps in $50,000 per day while being based in a port such as the Whitsundays. A brand new industry that the government is in the process of creating right now is the cultivation of medicinal marijuana, and now that legislation has been passed in this place, there's an opportunity for growers in North Queensland. I'm going to be speaking to people tomorrow about that. We've got more and more ideas that we can use to build the North, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I'll be speaking on them in coming weeks.